Remember the Kel-Tec SU-16 from my older videos? I liked it and I never had a problem with it. It has been 100% reliable. But lately I've just been more interested in older guns, and I can't afford to just keep buying new stuff without occasionally selling something to free up the funds. So I sold the SU-16 to get this, a Pieta Smith Carbine. I'd imagine to some of you, especially American viewers, it must seem a little strange to get rid of a perfectly functional modern tactical rifle chambered in .556 and replace it with a .50 caliber black powder rifle. But I shoot for fun. I'm not trying to prepare for the zombie apocalypse or the government coming after me or whatever other apocalyptic scenario. And for recreational purposes, it really only matters how much fun it is to use. And in that regard, I can say so far it has been a very good choice to do that. So I'll tell you a little bit about this. As usual, I'm going to talk more about the practical aspects and less about the history, but a few words about that as well. So these were developed and made just in time for the American Civil War. And they weren't quite as popular as the Sharps, but they did become, ironically, nowadays they have become a lot more popular, and they were efficient back in the day as well. They had a few advantages for cavalry, and that's what they were really intended for. Use on horseback and also artillery units, because the artillery was drawn by horses. And this one here is the cavalry model. It has the saddle ring here. On horseback, of course, a muzzleloader is not the most practical thing, as you can imagine. You know, front stuffing something on a horse is not the easiest. And the advantage of this is it's actually a breech loader. It just breaks open like this. And they had rubber cartridges, which was very unusual for the day. And I got these right here, which are also rubber. They are, well, bright orange, which they wouldn't have been back in the day. They were just black. They can expand, so they seal the chamber as you're firing the cartridge. And that prevents gases from escaping, which means that more pressure is going towards the actual bullet. And yeah, the bullets are large. .50 caliber, as said. The charge in there is basically like a revolver charge. I can't cram in any more than 35 grains of powder. From what I've read, back then they used a charge of 50 grains. What you do is you put these in the chamber, which I'm not going to do now, and then you close it, bring the hammer to half cock, and then you would put a percussion cap on the nipple and bring it to full cock, and then you're ready to fire. So what happens is, as the cock strikes the nipple, yeah, I know, unleash your immature minds, it sends a spark through the hole, so the hole right here, and that spark travels through the hole in the back of these cases. That's what ignites the powder that's in there. You might ask, what prevents the powder from just trickling out through the hole? Well, nothing really. With the coarser 2F powder, it's not supposed to trickle out really, but I found that it does. So what I do is just put a tiny little piece of tissue paper in there and put it over the hole just to seal it up. Some people also like to put stickers over that, and then as they take out the cartridges, they take the sticker off and then load it in. But, you know, stuff like tissue paper or newspaper or something like that, very thin paper, it just it allows the spark to travel through the hole and ignite the powder without a problem. For the cartridges I load with black powder, I actually first strip the lube that the bullets come with, because from what I've read, it's not very suitable for black powder. And then I melt my own grease, which is made of Crisco, beeswax, and olive oil. And then make sure to fill the grooves with that. The purpose of that is to keep the fouling soft. With the 777 that I use as well, which is a black powder substitute, I'm not doing that. I just use the bullets as they are, because it just doesn't build up as much fouling as true black powder does. And these two don't need to press. You can just push in the bullets by hand Just need to make sure that they are properly seated on the powder and compress it in case of black powder. In case of the 777, it just needs to rest on the powder. I actually had to work a bit on the action when I first got the rifle because it was absurdly stiff. You had to really struggle with it to get it open. And so I removed this screw here, took it out, took off the barrel, which took quite a bit of effort because the parts were just that tightly fitted, way over to the top. So I then polished the surfaces of the hinge that contact each other, and now it's a lot better. I mean, it still needs some breaking in, like this could definitely wear in some more, might even do some more polishing, because it would be ideal to just be able to flick it open, which I can't really do unless I hold it with both hands and then do that. And also I stretched the spring here a little bit on the top strap, because it was very hard to push the lifter in. I've seen several different terms applied to this part here. Lifter, lifting lever, plunger, and a few others as well. Apparently everybody calls this something else, but whatever. So that's how it works. There's a brass bar that lifts this top strap, and then you can break it open like that. So this block here is what it latches onto. Here we've got the rear sight. It can also be flipped up for longer distance. Simple brass front sight blade. And these here are simple, but they're very quick to pick up, so no problem with that. And other than that, I like how it handles, how it points, and it has very little recoil really, because you're basically dealing with revolver recoil in a rifle. So like even with my injured shoulder, I can shoot that on the right side just fine, no problem at all. On one website I read that one of the disadvantages of the Smith Carbine supposedly was that the cases were hard to remove after firing, which for me wasn't the case at all, pun intended. But I think what they meant was cases made of other materials, because back in the day they actually ran into supply problems eventually and couldn't get enough India rubber to make these, and then they made them of paper or metal foil. So I could imagine that yes, those would probably be more difficult to remove. The nice thing about this design here is that when you open it after firing, it usually ends up like this, and that's pretty easy to remove. At the range a couple of times the fired case even dropped free on its own when opening the action. By the way, these are reloadable quite a number of times. I don't know exactly how often, but much more often than brass. I can imagine rubber, it's going to last for a long time. It expands as the powder ignites, and then it goes back to its original shape. So really, eventually it's going to tear, but this should really last for a long time. And also, you can actually reuse them right at the range. If you have loose powder and bullets, you could just pick this up right from the ground and pour in more powder, grab the next bullet, push it in, and there's not much of a cleanup involved either. With brass, after a while, you want to tumble them or clean them in a sonic cleaner. This is actually a fired case. This I used with the 777 black powder substitute, and here's one I fired with black powder. This is a little dirty because there is some of the grease left, but it is amazingly clean considering that I fired this with black powder. Usually black powder stains everything and makes it real dirty. These here, they're still fine. You can just take it as is. You just need to make sure that the hole is clean, but otherwise you can just load it back up and there you go for round 2. And I know how that sounds. Anyway, one drawback of this design is unloading is a bit of a pain in the butt, because when you drop in the rubber case, the bullet is going to want to remain in the chamber. So when you pull that out, you're just going to be left with the case itself, and the bullet will still be in there. There's going to be a bit of powder spill all over the place. So then you have to take like a cleaning rod or a ramrod or something and drop that down the barrel to get the bullet back out. Well, I'm sure there's more to be said about it, but you don't just want to listen, you also want to watch it in action, right? So let's get to it.
Registration certificate will Okay. Yep, looks good.
Better.
Such a fucking weird rifle.
Yeah, I don't get what's so weird about it. It's a break action.
Yeah, but
the way you load it,
the time it was made and the cartridges it uses.
Ah.
And, like.
Yeah, what else had rubber cartridges, right?
Nothing.
I think it's expensive then.
Man, that's nice. So much quicker to load than regular muzzle
You
loader.
don't say.
What's it called?
Yeah. Smith Carbine.
Smith Carbine.
Yeah, the capping is the only inconvenient part.
Yeah, I didn't realize that these were meant for that. I thought that was just a workaround so you didn't have to hand load it.
No, that's exactly how they work.
Well, I mean, it is sort of a workaround, so you don't have to
Yeah, it is.
load it every time, but it's an original workaround.
Ah,
That's a bit high.
a little bit high.
You probably get pretty fast.
Oh yeah.
Bang.
Eventually. Oh really? That's a bit high. See where that went?
Nice. Like I said, if you get good, you could probably get pretty fast with that thing.
Oh yeah, I think so. With some practice.
You nicked it.
New rifle fever is a thing.
Oh, I had it.